Yep. Well, first off, happy Teal Tuesday. Obviously that's a new thing that we all celebrate here, so we take it seriously. And as it goes for special teams, it's been great. I've been a couple different places, and the biggest thing with establishing special teams here in the spring is a culture. A culture and starting from the ground up, and that starts with fundamentals. As you see, the biggest things you see on special teams when it comes to Saturdays and when we get out there is are we not being talked about in a bad sense? Meaning, are we fundamentally sound? Are the yellow flags, out on the field? And the biggest thing in spring for us is we have to establish our fundamental baseline first before getting into our scheme. And the latter half of spring now is when we are getting into scheme. We're fine tuning those details, but so far, culturally, it's been great. We have a good group of guys, fast, physical, and I think they're going to be a fun brand to watch when it comes to Saturdays.
Special teams can win or lose games.
Absolutely.
So just what have you seen that group grow since we started the spring practices?
Yeah, and like I said, I think the biggest thing is special teams. No question about it. Wins or loses games, and a lot of people, when you talk about special teams, people will say, "Oh, it's 1/3 of the game." Well, really, when you look at the statistics, it's really 20% of the game. It's about 1/5. So we use a mantra on special teams called "one play battles for huge chunks of land" because that's really what it is, right? The hidden yard is just so important when it comes to winning and losing games, right? Being able to flip the field. We're on the punt team. Being able to stop return teams and return units on kickoff cover inside the 20 when we need to have it for our teal swarm. And then on return units, we have to be fundamentally sound, win on double teams in our return game, and go take it to the house and change the complexion of the game.
Coach, this program's gone through its share of place kickers.
Mhm.
Obviously, you have a new one on campus. What do you see out of that young man or young men that makes you believe that maybe you can find one that A, could get the job done, and B, stick around a little bit longer than maybe a year or two?
Yeah, so obviously transitionally we came in and I had to go find 2 to 3 place kickers. And the big thing is with place kickers is when I evaluate those guys, I like to get guys that have a background of playing other sports and have been in different athletic arenas because I think when it comes to kicking big time kicks during games, I would prefer to have a guy that's done it obviously on Saturdays, but also maybe has been a soccer player, right? Or has played different sports and has flourished and been a good athlete because once you get into those key moments, those guys, they've been there before in different avenues. They've competed. So the moment isn't as big for them. So talking specifically, Nico Cavanias is a guy I brought in from South Carolina State, kicked a huge kick in the Celebration Bowl last year, 53-yarder. Game winner. He was a second-team All-Conference, and then I brought in Daniel Porto from Florida A&M, who was a first-team All-Conference player. So I brought those two guys in to compete. They've done a great job so far. Biggest thing right now in the spring is operations between snapper, hold, and kick. What guy can be the best place kicker for us, and putting them in pressure situations that we're going to see in the fall and try to simulate that in the spring the best we can. And then also, just further for place kicking, we got to find a kickoff guy that's going to be consistent in placing the ball where we need it to be and kick touchbacks consistently.
Coach said no. I'm sorry. Coach said no live special teams for spring games. That good with you or y'all?
Yeah, it's it's one of those things. I think right now we're still developing our depth and trying to be smart. At some point we will go live, but in that setting, we're trying to decide, what's best for our team. We feel like right now what's best for our team to get an evaluation is to not have live. We did do some live things in this last scrimmage, which was great. We did punt versus SWAT. SWAT is our punt return unit, and we were able to get a really good evaluation of that. So going into the spring game, we'll be on air, but everything will be full speed. We'll have returners back there. You'll get a good look at our stances and our starts, how we look formationally, and our speed off the ball.
Coach, now that there's no spring portal, you're kind of more free to talk about players and starters and all that.
Right.
Have you identified? We talked about the kickers, but a starting punter, starting kick returner, and punt returner at this point?
Yeah. So the starting punter position, it's interesting because we have Emil Sibafundi back from last year, and we also have Roland Podesta, who I brought in, who's a Boise State transfer. He went from Boise. He was there in the spring. Actually went back to Australia. He was from Pro Kick Australia. Both of those guys are, which I've had a really good relationship with those guys, and they put out really competitive athletes in the punters and kicking positions. So when it comes to starters right now, they're still competing. Just like any position. I don't think we're going to name a starter until probably the fall. We might not even say anything until the first game. Because both of those guys are extremely talented and they're going to have their roles. But right now, same thing with place kicking. That we're still working through the operations with our snappers. What's the best combo, what's the best within our scheme. And that's the one thing too is I'm going to model what we do on the punt units, on the kickoff cover, KOR, and punt return based off what we're best at. And if we're best at going rugby punt with one of those guys, and that's what we're best at doing, that's what we're going to do primarily. If we're better at pocket punt and we have a guy that's really good at it, then we'll lean into that. So we're still evaluating just like every other position, and that's going to continue going in the fall.
And thoughts on the returners?
Yeah, returns. We have some dynamic guys that I really like. Robbie Washington, he's dynamic, and I think he can be a great punt returner. I really do. And he's kind of taken more of a leadership role, and I'm going to put him in some more pressure situations, see what he can do. I think he's a one-cut, get vertical, explosive guy, just like he is on offense. I also think Colton Hinton is a guy that is faster than people think, and he's a one-cut vertical guy that I think can really do some good things, and I trust him back there, and he's a natural punt catcher. And then also you have Carmelo, who came from West Georgia, and he was their primary punt returner. So we have 3 guys right there that I trust right now to put out there on game day. The biggest thing is punt return and catching punts, just talking primarily on that. It's so detailed. It's one of those things that the proper mechanics of catching a punt, how to approach a punt, is crucial to your success and your communication. And we're still developing those guys to see who the best guy is to put back there, and kind of how we're going to match their talents up with our scheme. Kick returner wise, Cross Johnson, he's a little nicked up right now, but he has elite speed. He could be a guy that could do some nice things. And then I think some of our running backs, obviously Dominic Nicely, I think is a guy that we got to get back there and see. And then Townsend's another guy, elite speed. I think can as long as we hit our landmarks and all 10 of those other guys do their job, there's no excuses why we can't be explosive on both those units.